In this video, we're taking a look at the new AstrHori 25mm f2.8 2x to 5x magnification macro lens. And this lens comes in at only $249, so potentially this is a really great deal. And 2x to 5x magnification is a lot, so this is a lens you should buy if you're looking to photograph very small things, like very small insects and similar. Since it starts at 2x magnification, you will not be able to use this for any regular photography. You will not be able to use this for portraits or landscapes or anything like that. And if we look closely at the lens, we can see that it is very similar to another lens that we have come to love, which is the Laowa 25mm. And yeah, you could almost say that AstrHori probably tried to copy the Laowa lens because they are extremely similar. But there are of course some important differences, and let's take a look at them. First of all, when it comes to the size, you can see that in its most compact state, you can see that the AstrHori is actually a bit more compact. And I think the reason for that is likely that the AstrHori lens is optimized for mirrorless cameras from the ground up, while the Laowa lens was built in a time where DSLRs were common. So the Laowa lens was optimized for a DSLR, and then if you put the Laowa lens on a mirrorless camera, they had to kind of add a bit of extension tube here. So that made it not as compact on mirrorless cameras. The AstrHori is slightly heavier though. It's 481 grams when I weighed it, and the Laowa is 443. Not a huge difference, but still noticeable. And of course there is a slight difference in the range. The Laowa goes to 2.5 to 5x magnification, while the AstrHori goes from 2x to 5x. So you have a little bit more range with AstrHori, which I think is very welcome. Oftentimes I don't bring the Laowa 25mm because it's a bit like too tight in its magnification range, but when you have the AstrHori that goes from 2x, it suddenly becomes a bit more useful for many different subjects. For example, ants. I won't really be able to shoot them in a good way at 2.5x. Often they kind of go outside the frame, but at 2x I think it would be perfect for small forest ants. The AstrHori 25mm comes for a range of different mirrorless camera mounts: Sony E mount, Canon R mount, Nikon Z mount, L mount and Fuji FX mount. But not for Micro Four Thirds, but you can of course use it on a Micro Four Thirds camera if you find an adapter from one of the mounts I mentioned to Micro Four Thirds. And the AstrHori of course covers a full frame just like the Laowa. As always with AstrHori, the lens looks and feels well built. It looks amazing actually with this kind of almost shiny black color, but not quite. It's still a bit matte in its color. And it feels pretty good to zoom it, but I feel like a slight resistance here. Like it almost feels like there is like a microscopic piece of sand or something in here. But I mean, it works well, but you can almost hear the noise. Listen. So not quite as smooth as the Laowa lens, but it's not really a big issue, I would say. The only thing really I don't like about the way this lens looks is, I'm sorry to say it AstrHori, but your logo. I don't think the logo is very pretty. It looks like someone took like an ugly font and then increased the spacing between the characters and just made the A red. I really think you guys should invest in a better looking logo type AstrHori, because with that this lens would look amazing, because everything else about this lens really looks amazing. And another important difference between the Laowa and the AstrHori of course is that the Laowa comes in at $399, which is great value for money, but the AstrHori comes in at $249, which is amazingly cheap, I would say, for a lens like this. What about the image quality? I did a few tests here indoors, since it's winter outside in Sweden, and I used my insect friend here to try to compare the lenses. Took a few shots at 2.5 times magnification on both lenses and f5.6. And I would say that I think the AstrHori lens is just as sharp as the Laowa, if not sharper. And the Laowa is a really sharp lens, so I think it does really great here. I also did a bit of testing at f2.8 at 2.5 times magnification, and looks really sharp there as well. And I tried the lens on all different magnifications, and it looks very sharp on all of them. So yeah, good job on the image quality, especially for this price. So I didn't do any extensive testing of the image quality, but from what I can see, this lens is excellent optically. There is, however, one pretty big flaw with the AstrHori lens. I think this is the only flaw actually I found with this lens, but it is a bit annoying. And the flaw is this. I discovered it when I did some test shots. Do you see what's happening here? Yes, it expands by itself if you point it downward. And this is obviously a very bad thing, because this means that whenever I'm gonna use this lens out in the field or in the studio, I will have to kind of hold the lens like this, so that the magnification doesn't change. By the way, I haven't really showed you, but this is how it looks at 5 times magnification. So I discovered this while I was taking the test shots, because all of a sudden the magnification had gone from 2.5 times to like 3.5 times by itself. So yeah, this is a pretty big problem, and I hope that AstrHori will fix it maybe in a future production run. I was just about to publish this video when I got an email from AstrHori. They said that they had gotten the feedback about this problem with the dropping lens, and that they have already fixed it, and they promised that it will not appear in any of the lenses ordered from now on. I had a pre-production copy of the lens, but all the retail versions of the lens will not have this problem, at least according to what AstrHori are promising. I really love this lens, and it is incredible value for $249. It's just unbelievably good lens for that money. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe if you like macro photography. That is what my channel is all about. And see you in a few days again.